Before I dive in to tell you about this episode, when I was listening to the raw audio, I caught an EVP. That's an electronic voice phenomena. I have had some of these throughout the years when I have had my own radio show and on podcasts and when I've recorded readings. I want you to listen to the very end of this episode and let me know over on Instagram what you think the spirit is saying. To me, it sounds like it says you've got munchies. I'm not sure, but I want you to listen to it and just acknowledge that these things definitely do happen. So without further ado, here's what the episode is actually about. Do you wonder why it seems everybody else gets what they want, but you're having trouble getting what you truly desire? So today on this podcast, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 ways to get what your soul really wants. So stay tuned. Welcome to Spiritual and Ambitious. I'm your host, Whitney McNeill. I'm a certified medium and spiritual teacher, and I help spiritual and ambitious souls just like you live your life purpose through your career and attract abundance by connecting into your intuition and spirit guides. Let's get spiritual and ambitious. Welcome to November. Oh my goodness, this is our first podcast episode in November, and I hope that it's treating you very lovely. And I have a couple messages from the messenger of Spirit Oracle that Spirit wants to share. So the first message I have here is it's time to set boundaries with someone. That is so important. We need to have our aura bubble up, our energy up, making sure that we are really being in alignment with ourselves before we say yes to things and making sure that it's okay to say no. The next card is visualize the outcome, which is so nice for our topic because we want to visualize what we want, right? We want to visualize the feelings of what we want, and we don't want to let any of the other BS get in the way. So the boundaries card really helps with that too. And finally, it's time to stand out. And so they're showing me giraffe, and that means you're seeing the future. You're seeing above the weeds, above the trees. You're seeing the outcome. So it's like stay focused on what it is that you truly do want. And so if you love this podcast, I'm going to ask you to leave a 5-star review. I would absolutely love to see that come in. And right now I want to give Mel Sue 129 a shout out. I love Whitney's podcast. When I found her podcast and started listening, I went right to the first episode and then made my way through them all. Oh, thank you so much for listening. I feel so much more connected to my spirit guides and have gained so much knowledge from Whitney, not to mention she has an amazing oracle card deck. Her deck is the one I connect with the most. Thank you, Whitney, for all that you do and share. Your hard work does not go unnoticed. You are appreciated. Thank you, Mel Sue. That's so beautiful. I really love reading these reviews. And I also wanted to give a shout out to Jamaica. I see that we're trending in Jamaica and a couple other countries as well. I just have to say Jamaica is my favorite place to visit, and I just got back from there. And thank you so much for listening. But that doesn't mean that I'm ignoring all of you other wonderful people listening to me in different countries. So I'm going to start giving shout outs to different places I see we're trending into. Okay, how do you get what you want? Well, let's go ahead. First step, write it down, take notes. Well, you got to ask for it. You cannot expect that you're going to get what you want if you do not ask for it. So you have to actually put the energy out there. This means asking for it with your spirit guides, asking for it with people if you are needing to talk to somebody. So if you are in a relationship and you see that there are things that you would really like and desire, then of course you're going to have to ask for that from this other person. You also, if you have a goal, a dream, something you want to manifest, well, you need to ask for it. And so you can ask the universe for this. You can ask your spirit guides to create opportunities for this. But here's the deal. What you're asking for absolutely has to be in alignment with your soul and your spirit. You cannot go around asking for lotto numbers if it's not in your divine path to get it. You have to really tune in to what your heart desires, what your soul desires, what you're passionate about. And you need to express this to your spirit guides and tell them that you are serious about it. If you are someone that just wants to sit on the couch and eat your potato chips, you are most likely not going to get those opportunities served up to you all the time if you don't take action on them. So you need to be serious about what you're asking for. So convey to your guides, convey to the universe that you are serious at taking the action and that you will say yes when this opportunity comes around. If an opportunity comes around and you're like, nah, it's inconvenient, well, then they're probably not going to serve it back up to you. So it's very simple. It's very easy as far as ask for what you want. And when we ask for what we want, we can come up with all these fears. What if I ask for too much? What if I ask for too little? What if I'm too vague? So what I'll say is tune into the outcome. Visualize what you want to be doing and ask your spirit guides to create opportunities to support that vision. So that's the first step. Now, the second step is don't care if you get it. And you might just want to turn this podcast off and be like, Whitney is not making any sense. Don't care if you get it. You've got to detach from the outcome. And so let me explain myself here. If you are too attached to the outcome and you are constantly helicoptering around it and you want the outcome to look exactly like this and have this color and everything be in its place, you are squinching off the energy of what it is that your spirit guides are trying to create for you. Your spirit guides have to align you with the right people, have the right timing, and those kind of things. If you're being way too picky, then it's going to be hard to please you. And nobody likes a super picky person when they feel like they never can please somebody, right? Likes that. I'm not saying you have to be a people pleaser. I'm saying that be open to whatever this manifests as, because you're trusting that you have put the order in to the universe and that you are allowing the chefs in the kitchen to make an amazing meal. So you could just say, I want an Italian meal and I really love the way this feels and I love this texture and whatever. The chef is going to create something that is going to knock your socks off, but you can't sit there and decide how it's going to be plated, right? As long as it tastes good and it is what you at least baseline wanted, you are good to go. But the real key is trusting that you've placed the order and now you can go about your business and do other things. So if you are constantly staring at the plant, waiting for it to bloom and watering it every minute, it is going to die. You don't want to squinch off the energy. You want to say, I trust that it's coming to me. I set my order in and I will take aligned action towards it, but I'm not going to think about it every day. I'm going to let spirit handle this. I want you to imagine that you have this team. So you're a business owner, you have this team, and you have given a project to the team, and you'll say, I'm going to let the team take care of it. I've given my instructions. I'll check back in on it next week or in the next couple weeks or whatever it is, but I'm going to trust and have peace. So the key is really to just have peace within yourself that it is done. And you can't necessarily care so much about how it is actually going to be. You can't micromanage it. And you want to just let it go. Like let it manifest into the universe. Let it sprout its wings. Let the seed that you've planted grow into a flower. Okay, so we've talked about asking for it. Don't care if you get it. And step number 3, take actions towards the energy, which means you take inspired action. So I was just talking about a plant. If you're watering it and you're like, look at me, I'm taking action. Look at me doing all the things. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right things that you're doing. Sometimes when people want a new career, a new job, they will apply to a zillion different companies when they did not feel inspired to do so. Those are things I am not talking about. While one, yes, you need to take inspired action and trust the process, you don't need to be expending your energy towards things that really don't support the process. You want to connect into your intuition, make sure you are really supporting this idea and showing up as someone who is getting this desire, someone who is actually in the energy of it. So if you're someone that says, I want to start my own spiritual business, I put my order to the universe, well, you actually have to show up to the table to eat the meal. You have to take the action to get dressed, to go to the restaurant, pick up the food, or sit down and eat it. So that means you need to get your LLC together. You're going to have to make sure that you're starting your brand. You have to take some of these actions. I was just talking to somebody the other day, and she was saying she was thinking about dating again. So first, she's going to have to actually get clear on what she wants in a partner that's asking for it. Then she has to trust that the universe is going to provide that for her. But 3, she's going to have to take action. And so she was saying, should I get on some dating apps, or should I just kind of see dating in person? And I said, you're going to have to tune into your intuition and see what you feel inspired to do. I know many people who have gotten married from dating apps. And I also know many people who've gotten married from meeting people in person. Everyone's journey is different, and you have to take inspired action. I think the worst thing we can do is scatter our energy in too many places that we really don't feel aligned with. So make sure you're taking that supportive action and showing up. People who tell me they want a relationship, sometimes they have really blocked out their entire energy and they're not truly ready for one. So I'll say, take some action steps to support that you already have the divine, aligned, right relationship for you. Sleep on one side of the bed, clear out your closet so you've got room for your partner. Think about those kind of things and take inspired action when you feel like going to an event, when you feel like possibly getting on a dating app. Really tune into your intuition. So with all these steps, you can see how your intuition is really important, and it's the key that threads all these things together, right? So when we come back after this quick break, I'm going to talk about 2 more steps you need to get what you want. This episode is sponsored by my free Spirit Guide Masterclass. Inside, you'll learn the 5 C's of Spirit Guide communication, your role with your Spirit Guides, 2 proven effective strategies to stop second guessing yourself and your intuition, and the single most important step to understand your intuitive guidance, along with 4 ways to perceive your spiritual intuitive messages. You'll also be getting a workbook to go through this class as well. You can join at messengerspirit.com/free class.
This episode is brought to you by Tinder. With cuffing season around the corner, Tinder is the place to be. And students who are back on campus this fall can connect with other verified students easily on Tinder U. Enroll now to make new friends, create new experiences, and make the most out of your college experience. Who knows? The new study buddy you meet from Tinder U can lead to becoming your permanent study buddy. Explore all of the possibilities for yourself. Tinder, it starts with a swipe. Download Tinder today.
Thanks for hanging in there. We're talking about the 5 steps that you need to take to get what you want. 1, you got to ask for it, or at least get clear on it. You've got to not care if you actually get it, and take actions towards the energy, which means inspired action. And the 4th step that I'm getting ready to tell you is you got to be open to the pivots and the changes. So whenever you ask for this thing in the universe, your energy is resonating at a certain vibration rate, a certain frequency. Then other things happen, you change, you are an ever-changing being. And in 3 weeks, you might not feel the same. Your vision might look a little different. Maybe now you're ready to ask for something a little bit differently. Or perhaps you still want the thing you asked for, but it's not the right time yet. So sometimes what happens is we ask for something, an opportunity comes, we think it's going to be a hell yeah, it's going to work out, and it falls flat. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, I thought everything was going to go really nicely, and it has fallen flat. Well, because you're an energetic, changeable being, your timeline might have shifted, and that does not mean that you won't get the thing that you asked for, but the timeline in which it occurs might need to shift and pivot a little bit. Your vision, the thing that you asked for, like I said, we're not going to manage all the details because you're an energetic being that changes. You may also need to be open to pivots. Now, I keep using relationships as an example today. That's the one that Spirit keeps showing me. So I'm just going to go with it. So years ago when I was single, I slept on one side of the bed. I cleaned out my closet. I was preparing for somebody to come through. And I asked the universe for what I thought I wanted. And I was really, really picky. I was like, I want somebody that doesn't have kids. I want somebody that's never been married before. And I want some of these commonalities. I didn't really get clear with my soul's desire. I didn't really get clear with the emotions I wanted to feel. Well, that person did arrive and look good on paper. I ended up marrying this person, but it wasn't the right fit. Got what I asked for, but I didn't really get to this place of truly how I wanted to feel. And it was not the right relationship. And what happened there is I ended up marrying this person out of my ego versus my intuition. Everything in my intuition was saying, no, this was supposed to be a lesson I was supposed to learn, but I didn't need to marry this person. Anyway, I got out of that cycle and I said to the universe, you know what? I know what I want now. If I were to ever be in a relationship again, I want to feel this way and this way and this way. And at this point, I don't care if I'm ever in one at all. I'm kind of done. But if you think that I need to be in one, like this is what my order is, but I'm not going to care to just be in one at this point. Well, what arrived and who arrived is my now husband. And he was married before and he had a daughter who I ended up adopting. And in my first order, I basically was rejecting this perfect aligned fit. And when I let go of the outcome, when I got clear in my soul's desire and realized that the things that I had put on paper wasn't really important, it was more of the feeling, the connection, and what I wanted to really get into my energy, then that's when this arrived into my energy. Now, at the time, I should have tapped more into my intuition, but I wasn't fully into this place yet of my intuition. And I would have listened to it, right? If I had gotten all those signs and signals not to get married the first time. What's interesting is Spirit was always trying to give me my second husband. And I had gotten messages for years about having a daughter. Everybody would tell me I was going to have a daughter, and I had made up my mind I would never have children. I took all the necessary precautions, and I kept getting this daughter described to me as dark hair and brown eyes. I was like, nope, never going to happen. Well, I ended up adopting my daughter who has brown hair and brown eyes. And it's so interesting when we don't nitpick our order, we get clear on what our soul wants, not what our ego wants. And we let it go and say, you know what, whatever. If it happens, it happens. So be open to the pivots because they can be the best thing that's ever happened to you. And finally, the last step is practice receptivity. We block it sometimes when we are not open, when we are refusing to actually receive because we're in go mode, action mode, do this, do that mode. We are not receiving. So if we're not in receptivity, one, it's hard to even understand and be aware of the opportunity exists unless Spirit puts it right slap in front of your face like they did for me. Most of the time, the opportunities we're just going to reject because we want to be in a cave. We say we're busy and we don't have time to say yes to these things. Whatever our excuses are, we sometimes don't even acknowledge the opportunity exists when we are not in receptivity mode. When we don't allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we also are putting up a barrier and a block to even get what we want. Sometimes what we've been asking for years comes and then we send it on its way and say, no, thank you. I've shared this story on my podcast several times, but I knew someone that got like $30,000. She had said, if I ever win the lotto or I ever get a windfall, and she got it and then gave it away immediately. So this is where if we can't receive, we're not going to get what we want. Sometimes we don't receive because we think we're not worthy. We think somebody else should have it, that we're not good enough, that somebody in more need should have this, especially when it comes to money or financial things. And trust me, you are worthy. This is something you asked for, eat it. It's almost like you've asked for this time to be in this amazing 5-star restaurant that you've spent just months waiting for. You've placed the perfect order and you now have gotten it served up to you. And then it looks amazing. Your mouth is watering and you just say, you know what? I'm going to give it to somebody else. I'm not going to actually eat it. So if you want something and you're going to ask for it, you have to consume it. You have to eat it. You have to say yes to it. You have to acknowledge it. You have to be it, right? So please, when the order comes up, don't reject it. Say yes. And there are so many ways to work on receiving. One way is to work on your sacral chakra, allowing yourself to receive. Really practice receiving compliments, letting people give you things, whether it's a compliment, whether it is advice, as long as you've asked for it. We don't want unsolicited advice. We don't like that. But if you have actually asked for it, then listen to it. Sometimes we don't listen. We don't listen to ourselves and we don't listen to our intuition. So as a recap, ask for what you want. Don't care if you get it. Take inspired action towards it. Be open to changes and pivots and practice receptivity. That concludes our episode, but as promised, here is this EVP. This is an electronic voice phenomena that was caught recording this episode. Let me know over on Instagram what you think the spirit is saying. It's so interesting, right? Here it is. All right, I'm going to play it one more time. All right, third time's the charm. Now that you've listened, let me know on Instagram what you think this spirit said. All right. Make sure to check out the happenings going on in November. We've got an Oracle card Playshop and our Purple Friday sale coming up. Check the show notes for all those details. And I will be back next Wednesday with a brand new episode. But until then, here's to staying spiritual and ambitious. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. And if you loved it, would you please share it with a friend? I would also love your review and a reminder to subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can find me at messengerofspirit.com, and you can take the 4 Intuitive Languages quiz and find show notes there too. If you want to connect on YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, you can find me at Messenger of Spirit. I'll meet you right here next week. Here's to staying spiritual and ambitious.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM. Women's voices amplified.